Hello and welcome to the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. Um, Thankfully tonight I'm not on my own. I got two very special and learned scholars of all things West Ham. Up first, it's Gatesy.
I only come on for the introductions.
Never been introduced like that before, have you, Gatesy?
No, sort of like a learned, sort of wise old owl. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, he must be on about the other geezer. And then you brought me in, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and speaking of the other geezer, delighted to have him back on again. I don't know how long we'll have him for. It's not up to him, it's up to his newborn. But for now, we do have Luke. How you doing, mate?
I'm right for now. She's just literally just started first.
Never work with children and animals.
I think she.
I
knows,
know. I can't say anything, man. I've got a adolescent little male cat here called Kenny, who's a bit of a terror, and likes to make an appearance on the show. He seems to go crazy every time I'm on somewhere live. He's been pretty good all evening, and now that we're live on here, he's going full retard. So,
she's just farting away. She's just farting away in the background. I'm wondering, is it going to
brilliant?
Is it more than a fart? And it's going to be a nightmare in about an hour's time when I change her. But yeah, this is dad life now. So you got cat life and I've got dad life now. So
yeah, you can always if she needs your attention, you can always bring her up on screen.
I'll put her on. She'd probably make more sense than I will tonight. So
Same.
Yeah, she'll make as much sense as Moyes probably anyway. But
no one can do that, mate. No one can do that.
Yeah, but listen, thanks to you both for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
We'll get into a few things, but the main thing I wanted to talk about tonight, because it has become kind of a hot topic very recently with West Ham, and that's the academy. And obviously, look, our academy is something, as West Ham fans, that we've all been very proud of its history. Going back a long, long way, we've produced some fabulous players in our academy over the years. And, we call ourselves the Academy of Football because it's something that's been close to our hearts always. And I feel like we're kind of at a crossroads at the moment. And I don't know what's going on. Is it simply a manager who just does not believe in giving these youngsters an opportunity to prove themselves or otherwise? Or is it a case of an academy that is no longer producing the kind of quality of player that we need? So, or is it a mixture of both? So, if Gatesy can gather himself...
I was going to say, can we just ask Kenny what he thinks?
Kenny's busy. He's a very busy cat. It's hard to get him to stay in one place, opinion on anything. He's indulging in his favourite pastime at the moment of climbing curtains, which he's very, very good at. But yeah, I mean, Gatesy, what do you think? Are we not producing the players anymore? Is it Moyes that just won't play them, or is it a mixture? Or what do you think's going wrong here?
I do think it is a mixture. I don't think it's 100% on the shoulder of David Moyes. I do think that the academy system has a part to play in it, but I do also think that it must be quite disheartening for a young prospect coming through the system, looking at a manager who in the first team doesn't really bring the players through as readily as I personally think ought to be the case. And this is why an awful lot of them just look and go, I'll go elsewhere. I'll go Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, even sort of like disappear. I mean, sort of like Harrison Ashby's now sort of looks like he's on his way to Newcastle, whether in this transfer window or in the summer, whatever. And it's because I believe Sonny Perkins going to Leeds, that they just look and go, this guy's just not going to play me. I mean, the prime example, and we've spoke about it, Tom, Adji Alese last season, when we had a centre-back crisis, what did David Moyes do when he had one fit centre-back? He put in a left-back at centre-back, and it was like, what's going on here? It's like, if you're not going to put in an injury crisis the under 21's captain as he was at the time, if you're not going to put him in that set of circumstances, you know you're not going to do it at all. I mean, it's how many sort of right backs, left backs, defensive midfielders would he have put ahead of Alese before he'd have played him? You know what I mean? It's like the only reason he played against Zagreb is because it was a nothing game. It was a filler game. It was, you could have put out a team of under 21s. It wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference, and then you'd have never seen them again. And that's exactly what happened with that back four. It's like Longello's not played since. Alese didn't play up until he was sold. Baptiste has disappeared off the face of the planet. It's like, where's he gone? And Ashby's on his toes. So I do think that the manager is a big part of it. I wouldn't blame him entirely, but he's a big part.
Yeah, what's your feeling on this, Luke? And where we're at with the academy right now?
Well, first of all, this is going to put my YouTubing ability to the test, and I'll make my point quick and to the point and properly, because I might have to switch off. But I'm trying my best here to think of my exact point and what I've got to make it to the point and get to the point and make the point and make it a good point. Basically, where it's concerned is I do like the idea of like having a conveyor belt of potential youth players to come in and fill in and get chances and all the rest of it. You know I'm on, didn't you? You know I'm talking now. Right. Yeah, something like that. I can't wait to find out. You have to be good enough, really, to be looked at, and you can say put this person in because that person's injured and stuff like that. But then they could have a terrible game. It could ruin their confidence and all the rest of it, right? It's like I said in the WhatsApp group with Gatesy that we could have the best youth players in the country ready to go, but even if they get a chance by Moyes, are they going to be ruined by him? Are they going to be played out of position? Are they going to be put in a position where they get no service if they're a striker? If they're going to be put in the midfield and be the best dribbler, but told, hold on, you're not going to be dribbling for 90 minutes, you're going to be tracking back and making tackles for 90 minutes. So as much as David Moyes might give him a chance, he could also ruin it at the same time. I've got no faith that he really will ruin anyone or whatever, or even give him a chance. But it's one of those sort of situations. I think the only time I've ever really known us to produce a bulk of youth players was the year we sort of got relegated with Carrick, Defoe, Cole. Other than that, it's like one here and there, and they've got to be really, really good to even get it. Like Tony Martinez was smashing it in the youth setup, got his chance, or an FA Cup appearance here and there. Was never really heard of until he made appearance for Porto recently and over the last few years, and I've never heard of him after that goal. So. What do you reckon? Youth? Yes or no? Now's your chance. Come on. Youngest ever YouTuber.
Doesn't sound happy.
She's definitely not happy with the situation.
I'm sure I just heard her say Moyes out. Did I get that right?
Yeah. It's a very salivary, very something. But yeah, I would love for there to my policy. I said this years ago and I was laughed at, and it probably is a stupid and ridiculous thing to say, but there is a thing with me that I would consider scrapping the transfer window completely and then having clubs just rely on their youth setup and have coaches that are dedicated to getting the very best out of a youth setup. But of course, football is a business and managers don't last forever. So you can have, someone who could, have a fantastic youth setup at their disposal and not have any idea how to use that youth at their disposal and, only work with players who are, primed and ready and been playing 5 years and everything like that. So I think we mug ourselves off a little bit by still calling ourselves the Academy of Football when we're not really. Will you behave yourself? Right? Because we don't, unless it was Declan Rice or someone else, maybe even Ollie Scholes might be coming through, or someone of that ilk, then great, it's fantastic. But we're not any different to any other team. We don't produce anyone else that we don't produce more academy players than any other team does. In fact, they produce more than us now. So we're almost. I tell you what it is. Being called the Academy of Football is almost like it would be having the castle still in the badge still, because it's like going on past credibility. I'm going to go. Hold on, I'll be back in a minute because I've got to sort this out.
I can't do it. You're fine.
Oh, bless.
The
Oh,
joys of it, Gatesy.
it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think we all understand only a small percentage of academy prospects will prove to be good enough for a Premier League first team squad. So it's not like we expect lots and lots of academy players to come through. As Luke was saying, a conveyor belt. I don't think anybody expects a conveyor belt as such. But there has to be some pathway for the ones that may or may not be good enough. Like the ones where you really like them and you think, okay, this kid could make it. Let's see what they've got. Let's give them that chance. And for there to be that pathway for them to prove themselves or otherwise. I mean, I remember Glenn Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
They came in really out of an absolute emergency. He actually, at the time, I remember, was not hugely thought of in the youth setup. It was not felt that he would become a West Ham regular, that he wouldn't quite make it to that level.
Yeah.
And then he actually had to come in and play purely an emergency situation. And look what Glenn Johnson went on to do. So, you know, you never quite know unless you've given them an opportunity. And we do have players at the moment in our youth setup who I think deserve an opportunity to show what they've got at that level. You know, I think the likes of kind of Ollie Scarles, Mubama, I think we've got to start having a look at Mubama. He is scoring goals. So why not give him an opportunity to see what he's got? There have been times when I think we could have done that, and Moyes hasn't done it. Obviously, I mean, I suppose the one that jumps out at us right now is Harrison Ashby. Someone who I think we more or less all agree, there may be some dissension, but I think vast majority of fans think that he looks a real prospect. He looks like he has real talent. And given that we've had our issues at right back, I mean, the fact that we still don't have a clue how good he could be is kind of shocking, Gatesy, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Harrison Ashby. Listen, I'm not saying he's the finished article, but I think that we've had, for a large portion of this season, although I got to give him due credit, Vladimir Coufal has been markedly better after the World Cup break than he had been up to that point. But be that as it may, we have had struggles this season at right back. And as I've said before, I know that Harrison Ashby isn't signing the contract, and that is the reason why David Moyes is not involving him in matchday squads. But I look at it from a 180-degree other angle, and it's like, well, maybe he's not signing the contract because he isn't getting played. Maybe if he was played, maybe if he looked and saw that he had a manager that he had the confidence in, and that vice versa, that he might sort of like, if he sort of got the opportunity to play, maybe that might sort of convince him to stay. To be honest, I now think that ship has sailed. I don't think that situation is retrievable. Maybe sort of like if the other side of the World Cup break, if in that 6-week break, if Moyes could have sat down with Harrison Ashby and his representatives and put an arm around his shoulder and said, I believe in you. You're going to get an opportunity the other side of the World Cup break. You're gonna get the shirt. You're going to be played at right back, and it's then up to you what you do with it. You either catch the ball and run with it, metaphorically, obviously it's handball, but you either catch the ball and run with it, or you fumble, you drop it, and the opportunity's gone. It's going to pass you by, but it's in your hands now. then it's up to him. It's up to him, and he either stands or falls on his own merits. But he's not been given an opportunity. I mean, you referenced Glenn Johnson. I was very lucky enough to interview Tony Carr, and he said this on a number of other West Ham fan YouTube channels, not just ours, where he references Glenn Johnson and says that there was the injury crisis in the 2002-03 season, which we eventually went down. And Glenn Roeder needed a right back, and he's pulled Tony Carr to one side and said, do you think Glenn Johnson could do a job? And Tony's response was, well, until you give him the opportunity, you'll never know. And that's the crux of it. You know, I mean, Look said about Tony Martinez. he was banging goals in for the 21s. He got a couple of games here and there for the first team, and I got to be honest, I thought he's out of his depth here, and fine, no problem. He was given an opportunity. He was road tested, and he wasn't ready at that time. He's obviously gone away, and he's matured, he's improved, and he's doing well for Porto. And fine, you know, some people mature a little bit later, but I just think that we need to, like I say, I just really get the ump that we've got that Academy of Football on the carpet at London Stadium. In the programs, you go online, the Academy Football, and we go absolutely overboard about it. And I think it's important that if we're going to have all of this literature, you know, foisted upon us, that we at least look like we're trying to live up to that tag, because otherwise it's completely redundant.
Yeah, and I think we're at a crossroads now with the academy. I mean, we know famously that Brentford just completely dismantled theirs. They don't even have one anymore. They've completely given up on an academy, and I would be distraught if that were to happen at West Ham, or if we were to stop producing players of the requisite standard, which I don't believe is the case, if I'm honest. I still think we're producing very good youngsters. So I think this is a big thing for me, Gatesy, with Mark Noble now. And surely, I mean, if the academy is close to anybody's heart at the club, it's Mark Noble's. You know, he came through that academy and found his way into the first team. And I would hope that Mark Noble would make it a priority, that the academy has what it needs to continue to produce very good youngsters, and that there is a clear and open pathway through to the first team for the exceptional ones. The ones who are good enough or look like they might be good enough, that they'll get the opportunity, because at the moment they're not getting it. I mean, you alluded to it already. I mean, for me, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was that game away at Chelsea, when we had the injury crisis. I think it was only Craig Dawson who was fit to start that game. He was the only fit centre-back. And Moyes was playing three at the back. 3 centre-backs in that game, and still Elise couldn't get a look in. He was left on the bench. He played Cresswell and Sofal as centre-backs rather than give Elise his opportunity. And I think that was the moment where I thought, okay, under this manager, our academy is completely redundant. Completely redundant. And nothing has changed since then. He only uses academy players when he wants to rest literally everybody. Like the game out in Bucharest, right? Where we didn't need the points. A loss didn't matter a jot. We'd already finished top of the table when we went out there to play FCSB. And he played some youngsters in that. Scarles played, you know, Mubama played, and he brought on Ashby in that game, etc. He throws them in when it's convenient for him to do it. He's not blooding them. He's not giving them an opportunity to prove themselves. It's literally a convenience to him to have them around. I mean, there's been how many times, Gatesy, have we seen our bench in a Premier League game or some other game where we've got 2 keepers on the bench?
Yeah.
You put 2 keepers on the bench rather than put one of these lads on the bench.
I actually think there should be some sort of, whether it's a Premier League thing or whether it's just something, and you referenced Mark Noble, whether he uses his influence to say, we've got 9 places on the bench, 5 of them can be utilised. This manager very, very seldom utilises 5 subs. I can't really think of a game this season. I mean, there may be 1 or 2, but I can't think of too many times this season in the Premier League where he's utilised 5 subs. 3, 4 top whack. I can't remember 5, to be honest with you, Tom, in the Premier League. So I don't really see what would be the problem. Whether, like I say, whether this would be a Premier League directive, maybe going forwards. Maybe if Mark Noble, if that's not the case, could turn around and use his influence and say it's imperative that these kids in the 21s, in the 18s, see that them being under the banner of West Ham United Football Club isn't a waste of time, and that they have a pathway by allowing at least one of those 9 places to go to a youth grade player. And even if that player isn't utilised, and I expect that more often than not that would be precisely the case, but the experience of that kid, you know, going to Rush Green, going on the coach, going to London Stadium with the team, into the changing rooms, team talk, sitting on the bench, warming up, blah, 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 all of that experience, invaluable. And how good would that be, that when that kid, the under 18, under 21 player, goes back to Chadwell Heath or Rush Green, wherever, to train, and he's got the other players sort of buzzing around. Oh, how was it? How was it? And they all start chattering, you know, yeah, it was a great experience. I didn't play, but, you know, just the whole sort of vibe, the whole buzz, you know, and then that's going to push, I believe, those under 21s, under 18s players to just redouble their efforts to give that extra 5-10% to impress, because they're going to be thinking, well, the next game at London Stadium, that could be me. If I can just sort of get a little bit more extra out of myself, that could be me, that in the next home game, he's not on the bench getting that experience. I am. But we've got not that. And so, and you referenced the Agialese one again, sort of just looking at that. How disheartening must that be? Not just for Agialese, but for the players that he was playing alongside. They must have looked at him and gone, you're our captain. And even in this centre-back crisis, they're not even considering you. They're putting fullbacks and putting them in at centre-back. So if you're not getting an opportunity and you're the captain, you're the standard bearer for the under 21s, if you've got no chance of playing, even in an injury crisis, what chance have I got? That must be totally deflating for the kids in the academy in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's why we're hemorrhaging young players now.
Yes.
I mean, when Ekwa joined Sunderland, I mean, his very first sentence, I think, was barbed. I mean, it was clearly directed at David Moyes.
100%.
He was saying, I can't remember verbatim what he said, but to paraphrase him, he said it's nice to be at a club, you know, that will give young players an opportunity to prove themselves and to show what they can do. Clearly a dig at David Moyes, and I think this is an untenable situation, you know, and I think the board and Mark Noble should be getting a handle on this now before it gets out of hand, because I mean, this goes beyond just the current crop that we've got not getting opportunity. It's going to be well known publicly that at West Ham, youth players do not get an opportunity. It's as simple as that. And we're going to find it more and more difficult to recruit really good young prospects because their agents and their parents are going to be saying, like, don't waste your time at West Ham. You've got no chance. You're never going to get an opportunity to play for them. Let's go to this club. Let's go to this club where you're going to be given an opportunity to prove yourself, and there is a pathway into the first team if you can do well enough at underage level. And at the moment, that isn't there at West Ham, and everybody knows it. And so I can't believe this has been allowed to continue. Not a single player has been brought through by Moyes, not one. And not just that they haven't been brought through, but none of them have had an opportunity to prove themselves. They just haven't. And it doesn't matter what they do when they play, Gatesy.
Nope.
It doesn't matter. Ollie Scarles, I thought, was brilliant out in Bucharest. I thought he was man of the match. He had a tremendous game. For a youngster like him to go out to Bucharest against a European side, albeit a very limited one, but for him to go out there as a youngster and play like that, I mean, I thought it was marvellous. And I was excited. I loved watching Ollie Scarles play, and I loved watching Mubama play, because you know it means so much to us as West Ham fans to see these youngsters playing and doing really well. Scarles was immense in that game, and no matter how good he was in that game, it wouldn't have mattered. Mubama could have scored a hat-trick. You still wouldn't have seen them since. You know, I think it's shameful. I think it's an actual disgrace. And I would sack David Moyes for that alone. I really would. I'd say, I'm sorry, we cannot have a manager at West Ham that refuses to even attempt to bring through our best young players or give them any kind of opportunity. It cannot continue because it's destroying our reputation for producing youngsters. And it's got to stop. Either David Moyes is going to start giving these lads a chance or bring in a manager who will, because
hell will freeze over first.
Yeah, well then get him fucking gone, as far as I'm concerned. It's not like he's doing a top knock-up job anyway, is it?
No.
So get him gone, and when you're interviewing for your next manager, explain to them that it's a very big deal here at West Ham. Our academy means a lot to us, and we want to see youngsters being given an opportunity. If they're not good enough and it doesn't work out, fair enough. But some of them will. Some of them will surprise you at how good they are. Do you think anyone really, hand on heart, do you think anybody in the academy, or believe it was Bilic at the time when they brought Declan Rice through initially, do you think any of them really thought he was going to be this good? I very much doubt they thought he would be this good, that he would become so quickly club captain, one of the first names on the England team sheet, one of the best, let's be honest, one of the best DMs, young DMs in world football. They couldn't have known that was his trajectory. But we found out because he was given an opportunity. Even when he made his mistakes, which he did early on. He made mistakes. If you remember, was it up at Newcastle, he made a really poor error and it cost us a goal.
Emirates as well.
Yeah, the Emirates
ducked under us.
But they kept playing him because they understood he's a youngster. He'll make a couple of mistakes. He'll learn from them. He'll grow. And look at him now, because the only way you find out is to give him a shot. You know, and the fact that that's not happening anymore is disgraceful, in my opinion. I can't avoid this anymore, Gatesy. I can't. We're losing Ashby. Look at the players we've lost, right? Whether they would have turned into something brilliant or not, we don't know. But look at the players that have walked out of the club who were showing real promise. And now we're going to lose Ashby. And if we're not careful, we'll lose the likes of Ollie Scarles as well. It's not like we're flush on that left-hand side, is it?
No. And here's a hypothetical for you, Tommy. This is from the pages of Marvel's What If, sliding doors sort of moment. If at 14 years of age, when Declan Rice was released by Chelsea and David Moyes was in charge of West Ham United at that time, and we sent representatives round to Declan Rice's parents, 14-year-old Declan Rice, just, thanks very much, Declan, but we're okay. You can go with our best wishes. He's heartbroken. It's his boyhood club, blah, blah, blah. David Moyes is the manager of West Ham United at that moment in history. Come and join West Ham. I'll tell you what, and I'm a West Ham fan, if that was my kid, I'd look at that manager, I'd look at the situation that really youth isn't getting an opportunity, and I'd be turning around to my son and going, mate, you'd be better off going to Crystal Palace. And I'm a West Ham fan. I mean, that's how bad the situation is. That if Declan Rice at 14 years of age was my son, and if David Moyes was the manager, and I would look at him and I'd just go, mate, you're better off at another club. Better off at another club. Don't go to West Ham. It's an absolute shambles. They say it's the Academy of Football. Look at that fucking manager. Absolute no interest in blooding youth unless there's some sort of world-class talent. He's not interested. You've got to be a Wayne Rooney to get through. I mean, that was a sort of like, it just says it there, rocking horse shit. David Moyes has no pedigree. Everybody goes on about, well, he was the guy that brought through Wayne Rooney. Well, Wayne Rooney was a generational talent. He couldn't fail to bring him through. He had to bring him through. But anyone that's below that, nothing.
By the way, Gatesy, I don't know if you know this. Wayne Rooney has spoken on this.
He said he held him back.
It was put to him about David Moyes giving him his opportunity. And Wayne Rooney did not speak well of Moyes whatsoever. He said Moyes didn't want to play him.
Yep.
He said Moyes was basically forced to play him. Because the club, everyone in the club knew they had a very special generational talent. And Moyes did not want to bring him into the first team and give him a chance. Didn't want to play him.
Probably wanted to play Duncan Ferguson instead.
No, he was literally made to play Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney said he almost ruined him.
Crazy,
he was forced to play him. He was told he had to play him and give him a chance. He was forced to. He didn't even want to put Wayne Rooney on the pitch.
No. And that tells you everything.
Even I knew who Wayne Rooney was at Everton as a youth team prospect. I mean, everybody was talking about him. That he was a generational talent, what we call a wonder kid, right? And on championship manager, is known as a wonder kid. Everybody knew who Wayne Rooney was, and Moyes didn't even want to play him. So if he doesn't want to play Wayne Rooney, what chance have any of our lads got?
Yeah. And just that comment there that you just had there about what Moyes saying one thing, doing another, that kind of feeds into another little bugbear of mine. Oh, what was it, a year, 18 months ago, and he was waxing lyrical about the Red Bull model. And you look now and you go, what aspect, what perspective of the Red Bull model was David Moyes talking about? Was he talking just about, buying a few cans of the stuff from fucking Asda's? Because we've got one of the oldest squads in the Premier League. Even after £180 million spent in the summer, we've still got one of the oldest first team squads in the Premier League right now. The Red Bull model, correct me if I'm wrong, was about getting young, youthful, exuberant, energetic talent in, training them up, giving them experience, letting them make their mistakes, as you said with Declan Rice, letting them hone their craft and getting to the point where they're now ready to move on to the next stage. We can make money, we can reinvest, keep developing. That's the Red Bull model, David. That's the Red Bull model. Not getting a fucking case of the stuff from your local supermarket.
Yeah, I think with Moyes, it's the Red Bullshit model. He's absolutely full of it. I mean, it's not even, even Dortmund. Look what Dortmund did with Bellingham. They identified someone they believed was a real talent.
Yeah.
And had the potential to become a great player. They brought him over at a tender age. I think he was about 17. And here's the thing, they played him. Yep. They played him, and he got his opportunity.
But you would imagine that probably I would imagine that again, and I think Duke said something about this, that there's some sort of thing that Dortmund have in place, so I'm led to believe, where they're committed to giving a certain amount of game time to their younger players coming through. Now, I think that's brilliant. And this is one of the best clubs in Europe. Let's not muck about. Dortmund are not a pissant team. They're a big heavyweight. They're a heavy-hitting team of European football. And they're committed to developing youth, bringing it through. And obviously, they sell them on. They make a good few quid, and they sort of keep that conveyor belt of talent. Haaland, Sancho, Bellingham, the list goes on. Players that they've nurtured, they've developed and gone, right, they're now at a point where we can move them on, we can get the money back, we can buy a replacement, have money left over and reinvest it, and it works. It absolutely works. So I don't get it, mate. I really don't. And as I say, we proclaim that we are the Academy of Football. We're the Academy of fuck all. That's what we're the Academy of.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, Dortmund would not tolerate someone like David Moyes.
No, or Ajax.
Just wouldn't tolerate it. A manager coming in that refuses to give their best young players an opportunity to make the way through into the first team, they wouldn't put up with it because it goes completely against their ethos. And
Yeah.
supposedly, we have the same ethos, so we're supposed to. And where is it? Are we really going to allow a manager to fuck that all away? I mean, not only, as I said, are the current crop of players not getting an opportunity, it's really going to adversely affect our ability to get in.
I hope he's winding her.
Come here.
Can you hear that?
I was going to say, you're not in the bathroom doing something you shouldn't.
Sorry, I'm
Yes,
just burping.
that sounds
actually.
really bad with no picture, Luke.
Right, hold on. I'm really just to try and make myself
You're
innocent.
not knocking one out live in
No,
air, are you?
no. She's here. I'm burping her. She's had milk and she's gone straight to
All
sleep.
right,
And she
okay,
doesn't burp
fair.
when she's gone to sleep. So I'm just, yeah, like.
I was thinking all sorts. I was like, what's he doing? He's tugging one out.
But I'm not allowed to lucky these days. So yeah, sorry. Okay, no worries. Won't happen again. I'll try and keep it quiet.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add to the academy question before we move on, Luke?
I must admit, right? I think since David Moyes has done this interview with the CEO guy, I can't remember his name now, and he said he wants to try and change the ethos at West Ham, and I was thinking, well, I can understand if he was a trophy-winning manager who was heralded
the academy that
by
we've had.
the top players. Well, yeah, but that's
Is that the
one
change
way
of ethos? If the change of ethos is I'm going to destroy the academy, then he's doing a decent job.
Well, when he said West Ham fans might not like it, I thought, oh, that could mean so many things. There's one thing that I don't get about managers like him, and I think it's been recently, especially with how well he's done over the past 2 years to get us chasing top four, to get us into a semi-final of Europe and all sorts of stuff like that. That's building something. That's starting something. That's starting what the owners wanted when we first moved into the stadium, and it's kind of on the lines. And then obviously it's changed since then, and we've gone almost back to the old West Ham of fighting relegation stuff. But he went from a guy that walked into the job going, "That's what I do. I'll win," to basically we should be happy that we're even in the Premier League, and we've done so well, and one bad year of regression won't be that bad. But I don't get managers like him. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to give youth a chance, why you wouldn't want to try and beat the top six, why you wouldn't try and want to win as many games as you can, and going into games thinking, oh, well, if we can get a draw out of this, is a perfect result, when you've probably got the ammunition to go and think, no, we could get a result here. We've got Paqueta, we've got Skamaka, we've got international, we've got Declan Rice, we've got internationals in our team. Why can't we go to Arsenal away and to United away and try and get a result? And I don't. It's this kind of along the lines of Sam Allardyce, sort of like, well, do as much as you can, but don't do too much because it's like wasted energy. And I don't understand really why he wouldn't want to, use the best. But then maybe it's too much work for him. Maybe he can't be asked. People are saying that he's not using. He's slagging off Benrahma enough, and Benrahma's a first team player who's his only outlet to attack this season and scoring goals. So sometimes I think that the managers they reach their ceiling and they don't really know what to do, and he's a bit out of his comfort zone with us being so far in Europe, and maybe he's realising that he's not capable of doing a job that he maybe he's not capable of doing a job that he thought he was capable of doing, and that's why he's not playing Downs over Souček, and it's why he's not given the full confidence to Skamaka over Antonio. And other little things here and there. It's funny actually because I read a rumour the other day that apparently, Mark Noble, Declan Rice, and Creswell was apparently, if you like, a millionaire boys club where that's they're getting contracts. Creswell gets a contract and he's still in the first team because of who he is and being at the club so long. And it kind of makes sense because Creswell's not been at the top of his game for quite some time. We still haven't got a new left back in who can replace him. So, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. But it's funny. We had, I think on the channel a few years back now, we had an Everton fan on, and Anton was asking him, what's your opinion on David Moyes? And he said, he's a good manager for what he's got, what he can work with. He'll get you to a certain point, and, you'll get to maybe near the top four. Hold on.
He's gone away to do his
Anton,
daddy duties. How you doing?
he's doing his best, bless him. But Anton, obviously you were listening there. I saw you in the live chat. What's your take on the situation with the academy right now?
It's not really right now. For me, it's been a thing for a while. I think we all know that. I mean, I've been a keen follower of the academy and have done for several years. And I know some people do and some people don't take an interest in it. I've always kind of found it fascinating. You know, we talk about the Academy of Football. So from a young age, from what I can remember, it was always keen to find out who's the next person coming through and what they're capable of doing. And yeah, Tommy, it absolutely drives me insane that we don't give these players a chance. I'm not asking for all 11, like throw them under the bus like Sam Allardyce did against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup. That's different, but I'm asking for a player who shows promise, like what we've said. I mean, let's talk about Mubama. I know you've maybe talked about him. I only kind of came onto the show the last 15 minutes. And to me, I think to myself, there's a player that is not just doing it at one level. He's fluctuating between the 18s and the 21s, and he's doing it at each level he's going at. So he's full of confidence. I think it's 14 goals in 11 games. It doesn't mean that's going to transfer into the Premier League or into a higher standard.
Not at that rate.
How will we know, though, if we don't try? And if a player's so confident that, you know, it works both ways. It's like if he plays and he scores and then he goes on a goal-scoring run, that's his career made. Like, it does frustrate me. There's no way you can defend the situation with the youth and not getting the chance in the team. I mean, Alessi last year, when they had so many injuries at centre-back, Alessi for me was... I actually genuinely still feel like he's one of the ones that got away. I don't feel the same about Diangana. I don't feel the same way about Nathan Holland. I don't feel the same way about the guy today, Will Greenidge, that left the club. It's not nice to see, but it's part and parcel of your football. Yeah. But I look at people like Alessi and I think to myself, I don't really know where you put a foot wrong to not be given that chance. And I think that game was against Chelsea. I want to say
Chelsea, yeah.
And I know
also against game. Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal as well, wasn't it? It was both of them. Yeah,
at home. Yeah,
and I get they're both big games, but and people could see it as being thrown in at the deep end. But I mean, I watched him. He played a friendly against. Do you remember the time where we'd done the friendlies and we played two at the same time? I think we played Wickham and Ipswich, and I watched. Yeah. I want to say it was the Ipswich game, which was Balbuena and Alessi. Alessi dominated. Yeah, it's a friendly, but he dominated and he controlled Balbuena. Like it was extremely, like it was night and day of the two defenders. Like Alessi was the more experienced one looking at the game, albeit it was a friendly. Then obviously we saw him step up and play a couple of the games. He played was it Hull City we played in the cup at home, yeah. And we beat them in the. It was the League Cup or the FA Cup, and I think it was like a kind of 4-0, 5-0 game, and he played in that game, and he was phenomenal again. And then I think near the end of that game, Langelo came on. I think Langelo came on at the end or something like that. I don't know. So, yeah, it frustrates me. Many countries around the world, Gatesy, you said it. Look at Germany. Look at what they've done. So many countries around the world give their youth a chance. Italy do it. Yeah, look at Donnarumma. He's now at PSG. I mean, I don't know how old he is now, but he must have a crazy record of the amount of games he's actually played, and he's still probably not even in his mid-20s yet. He's been playing.
He's only about 21, 22, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's ridiculous. Like it's, and then I look at like Randolph is gone, and that's good. And West Ham signed up Anang before we sent him out on loan. So Randolph going and Anang coming in is good, but. Where does that leave Anang? Like, does that then just put him on the brink but never get the shot? And like you said, like then they're going to get shipped out. And really, where it came to a head for me was I've mentioned it so many times on the channel, but if any of you have ever watched the Fozcast, which is Ben Foster, he was questioned a lot about what's your advice to young people, and he said, "Trust me when I say what I'm about to say. My advice to all those young people was go out on loan." Go out on loan, go and get the experience, because sitting on a bench will not get you what you need to become a player. will not get what you need to get a player. And I was like, oh my God, that's coming from a pro, a well-known pro, advising the kids in the Watford setup to leave. But he's like, I'm trying to look after your career for you. Like, warming that bench ain't going to give you much dues. And finally, when Russ had Lee Hodges on, that story's so interesting. Lee Hodges ahead of Frank Lampard in the youth setup at West Ham, miles ahead. But that's where the controversy came, because he gave Lampard the chance, not Lee Hodges the chance. Lampard took his chance.
Or Scott Canham.
Yeah. And then Lee Hodges thought, I'm not going to get my chance, so I'm going to have to go and travel the lower leagues and get a career. And when he came on the channel, he was talking about where did he go? Was it Colchester or something like that? And he went, I've got over 100 like I played, or Scunthorpe, 150 games for them. But he wouldn't have got that if he'd have stayed at West Ham and sat on the bench. And it still happens now. And it's like, oh, fuck's sake, Moyes. Like, the Cup's on Monday, sorry. Mbama's banging in the goals. What's the harm? What is the harm? Yeah. Like, I don't see it as, it's not Mipu or Debiku. It's not the same scenario. It's not at Old Trafford. It's not the same. But I don't want to see, no disrespect, I don't want to see Antonio start the game. It doesn't excite me. Mbama excites me. And that's, surely they feel that. Surely West Ham feel that.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that shortly, but I do have to address this comment from West Ham Faithful. He says, but the thing is, we can risk playing a youth player or go to France and buy a player of the same age who has made 100 appearances already, no-brainer. I completely disagree. I think what you're effectively advocating for there, West Ham Faithful, is shutting down the academy, because if that's what we're going to do, our academy is no longer of any worth to the club, and you may as well shut the whole thing down, and I will never, ever be in favour of doing that. I would rather give a really good youth team prospect an opportunity than buy some lad of the same age in France and chuck him in the team.
See,
I will always advocate for our academy, always.
I think Ekwa and Okoflex are a prime example. You know, doing the shows, talking about Ekwa, people were like, why the fuck are we bringing in Ekwa? Why the fuck are we bringing in Okoflex? Like, what? And then everyone was gutted for Nathan Holland. Like, that was the one player that we all kind of felt really close to at the time and thought, I'd love him to get his chance, And Ekwan and Okaflex came in and done it. And at the time I thought, maybe I understand the concept. You know, maybe they're looking at the whole kind of Declan Rice situation. You said it, Gatesy, 14, let go of Chelsea, brought into West Ham, arm around him, and look what we've done. We've brought a diamond in the rough and made him a superstar, an absolute superstar. And maybe they were, you know, with Ekwa, again, I don't like seeing players leave, but I wasn't over the fucking arsed about Ekwa going, to be honest, because he doesn't owe West Ham anything. Okaflex doesn't owe anything West Ham. If he doesn't break through this season, I guarantee you Okaflex gone in the summer. If he doesn't do anything in the next 6 months, which he won't, as we all know, Okaflex is the next player to go because we'll get a fee for him and he'll go. But Ekwa, he's not going to sit around waiting at West Ham, and I think the younger players that are behind him are going to sit around and wait more than what Ekwa will. So,
but only up to a point, Anton. I mean,
yeah, no, up to a point. I agree with you. Up to a point.
Yeah, I mean, next in line, maybe we're looking at someone like Ollie Scarles. If he can't see a pathway through, then he's going to be on his bike as well. And I'll tell you what, if Scarles goes, I'll riot. It might be a one-man riot, but I will riot if we lose Ollie Scarles, players like that, because these are players that could make. I'm already pissed off enough that we're going to lose Harrison Ashby likely. I would love nothing more than for Moyes to get sacked and for the new manager to come in and pull Ashby aside and say, listen, this is a different West Ham now. You're going to get your chance in the first team to prove yourself.
The thing is, even before Ashby though, like Johnson, and I know the fan base is split in terms of Ben Johnson, but if you're Ben Johnson, there was a really good image from the game against Wolves where Sefal's playing on the park, and in the background you can see Ben Johnson wearing his bib, staring over the top of Sefal. It's like one of those kind of like, I'm not saying Ben Johnson's sitting there going, why the fuck am I not playing? But if you're someone who creates these memes like Luke does, like he would be looking at that going, like, what the fuck? Like, Why am I not playing over you? No disrespect to you, Sifal, and I've got your top there, but you are like your legs have gone. You've done well recently, but your legs are gone. Like Ben Johnson's legs aren't gone. You know, I'd rather be seeing that youth player go. No wonder he's not going to sign the contract. Why would he sign the contract?
Yeah, exactly, and that's another
boys.
academy player we're likely going to lose in the summer.
And isn't it interesting that Harrison Ashby didn't sign a contract, so he got binned? It looks like the same things happened with Ben Johnson, and yet Declan Rice, who's been offered multiple contracts, I know what you're going to say. It's because of their inherent value to the club. But if you're going to bin someone on a point of principle because they're not signing a contract, so we're going to shunt them out of the squad or shunt them out of the starting 11, whatever, then you've got to do that with everyone. And you know, Declan Rice is okay. We've made him multiple contract offers. They've not binned him from the first team squad. Like I say, you do it for one, you do it for all.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I watched Elise play against Middlesbrough last week, and he looked really good. I mean, he really did. I know. And look, Championship is no joke. You know, that's a very good league, a very good league. And Middlesbrough were a team that were playing really well. I think they've won 8 of 11 games since what's his name took over, Michael Carrick. And I thought Elise looked really good. I mean, and we've had issues at the back. You know, I mean, both fullback positions, we don't look too clever. Would it have been awful this season if Ashby and Longelo and Elise had some football, had some opportunity? If Elise was here now, we've lost Dawson. You know, looks like Zuma's gone out injured again. What would be so terrible, given our predicament, that we would give some game time to those guys? What if Ashby turns out actually, to be really good? Someone who could be a really good player for us going forward at right back. Now we don't have to spend money on a right back. What if Longelo turned out to actually be better at left back than Cresswell? Now we don't have to buy a left back. What if Elise comes in and you realise actually, he's a really good kid, and now you don't have to go buying another centre back to pad the squad again. I mean, I just can't believe that we it doesn't even enter Moyes' mind. He's happy to watch all of these players walk out the door, and I can't believe our board are allowing this to happen. For David Moyes, they're going to allow David Moyes to do this to us. And I said earlier, and I'll say it for the final time, because I'm so angry about what's going on with our academy right now. This will not only see us lose the current crop of promising youngsters we have, it will make it much harder for us to get very young players into the academy to begin with, because the advice to them will be, don't go to West Ham. You've got no chance. You've got no chance.
Yeah, I think I mean, me and Russ have been talking about it over a lot recently, and I think he's doing a little bit of research trying to find out in the Premier League where the state of play lies really with the youth system. And I think that probably does. I mean, listen, I don't follow Scottish football, and I genuinely mean that, and I do always hear little bits and bobs. My nephew plays in the youth setup of a Premier League team in Scotland, so I'm taking a keen interest in what's happening with that whole situation. But it's kind of like, you know, the models of some of the clubs here is that, you know, we bring up these players, we give them as much experience as we can, we sell them on, make the profit, and run, that's how we run the club, you know. But they don't get that a lot. And recently, because my nephew's playing where he's playing, I'm hearing a lot of people getting released. So obviously, and I know we know this, it happens everywhere. I get that. But I think what pisses us off more than anything is when there's real prospects. We're not. It's easy for me. Sometimes I say, I sit here and I talk shit, and I'm not a coach, and I don't get paid a lot of money to do what these people do, because obviously we're not professionals in the job we do. But sometimes when you hear pundits say it, or everyone is looking at a player and going, "Fuck, he's a real talent." You know, if I think back to Freddie Sears coming on, scoring that goal against Blackburn, right? I was naive at the time to go, he's our Tony Cottee. But with the knowledge of being older and watching football, I think really I would have looked at the situation and gone, he was never going to be the Tony Cottee. He came on and got the winning goal.
When he missed the target in the first place and had to go score from a rebound, I think we all knew that it wasn't going to be.
Well, no, I don't know, because I think a lot of fans probably would have gone off, and then the next minute, he starts dwindling down the ranks and stuff like that. But for me, you look at it, Mbama's a really keen one. He's a really interesting one, because I think to myself, every bit of confidence is there. So the question I'll ask to you guys is, if he played against Derby and didn't score, is Moyes, or are people saying his confidence is shot?
Who?
Mbama. If he played and didn't score against Derby?
No, of course not.
So is that the Moyes mindset then?
Depends. Well, Moyes' mindset is, not only do you have to score, you also have to be a battering ram to the opposition defenders like Antonio is, because to be up there you've got to do 1,001 things, and if you score, it's a bonus. But don't worry too much about scoring. Your job is to work hard throughout the game. It's one of the reasons why I think the difference between Benrahma and Fornals, because he said that Benrahma is uncoachable, which I think it was his way of saying, well, Fornals agreed to become a workhorse rather than a flair player, and Benrahma didn't. And that's why I use one and not the other. I know what you're saying about, just on the youth thing and not giving them a chance. There is the side of it that you haven't got forever as a manager in the Premier League club. And there is the $1 million question of going, do you trust, or do you have the trust of the board, and do you have the trust of the team that you might only be in a job for a year and a half, for example, and are you going to use time up to risk playing a youth player, risk giving them 5 games to settle in, and after that start to provide results? Or are you going to get in a £20 million signing from France and hope he scores 3 goals in 5 games, and then go, right, well, that's I was clever there, got that player in, didn't have to use the youth player because I've got him in because he done his job for me. There's also the fact that there's, I know someone who knows youth players at Norwich, or knows a youth coach and a physio at Norwich, and he was saying that the youth players are, all very nice and polite, and they're all, kind of almost nervous in the youth team, and they want to get into the first team chance. As soon as they get a professional contract, their whole demeanour changes, their ego changes. They're a lot more, I want this now. Why am I not playing and stuff like that. The whole demeanour, the whole ego changes, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I think I would love. Don't get me wrong. Bottom line is, I would love the youth to get a chance. There is Moyes aside, there is the thing with me that I do understand. There is a risk with playing youth players and giving them 5 games, just if they don't hit the ground running straight away. Declan Rice, when he first made one of his first games for West Ham against Arsenal, he ducked out the way and miscommunicated with Joe Hart and led to Arsenal scoring a winner against us. You look back on it now and it's almost like distant memory, why even bring it up because of the player he's become. Mbama could have an absolute shocker on Monday night against Derby, and Moyes goes, right, well, that's his chance, that's it, done. But if he played him in another 3 games, he might suddenly get used to the physicality, he might get used to the speed of the game, and suddenly start scoring goals and goes, oh, Derby was his just a warm up. All he needed was the games in the Premier League, really. So there's 1,001 different reasons why. I've just seen a few comments in there saying Ben Johnson's been dreadful. I feel sorry for Ben Johnson, the fact that he's been used everywhere, but it's probably his main position at West Ham. He's constantly been put centre back, left back, right back, probably right midfield at one point if we right wing back and stuff like that. Yes, players are more utilizable these days and they can play a number of positions, but after a while it takes a piss, especially when we're not exactly smashing it in the league and stuff like that. So, I understand where you're all coming from, but for me personally, I always have reservations with youth players concerned. I would love to see a lot more youth players get a chance. I'd love to Coventry break through the ranks. I'd love to see Cullen do it. I'd love to see a lot more players come through and almost have transfers if we need them. and just go with youth players. That'd be our thing. But I just think the way the football's gone, especially in the top flight, managers are scared to do it. But manager like Moyes is to his own man. Before I had to go off, actually, I was going to say something about an Everton fan that we had on. Anton might remember him. Was asking about what Moyes was like at Everton, and he said he's a good manager to a certain level, but he always does something that doesn't make sense. It might be a sub that doesn't make sense. He might be pushing a player through that doesn't make sense. He might be saying something in a press conference that doesn't make sense. And I think he's reached that point. I think he's honestly reached that point. I think he's reached when he doesn't even have to say anything. It's his actions and his tactics and his team selection that doesn't make sense. And to be honest with you, I am not in the least bit surprised that you aren't getting a chance. 100%. I'd be even more surprised if we were doing really well and he was giving you a chance. And that's normally when youth players do get a chance, because you've got the chance to go, well, if he comes or doesn't score, it's fine, we get a chance to win next week. But for the fact that he doesn't play players that fans want, from the bench, slags Benrahma off practically the whole season. I don't. If someone said, right, he's not picked Benrahma, but he's picked someone from the youth team, I'd have a heart attack. I'd be like, what? Has he fully lost the plot? Because that doesn't make sense even more.
Interestingly said, Everton fan you're talking about for the last year has been canvassing for Everton to target David Moyes, and he's quite a reasonably well-known YouTube channel, and he's put out a few polls, and it's overwhelming support to bring David Moyes into the club. So he wasn't particularly happy about Dyche. So that was just an interesting point when I said. No,
it is. But there's a reason.
He was
for
the
that.
same guy who said what he said, though. Yeah.
They come across as desperate, dog desperate, and they're going to scramble onto the only thing that really has kind of brought them success in the last 20 years, 25 years. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding really patronised. If any of Everton fans watching this, I do apologise. If you want to correct me, feel free. I'm not an Everton fan, so I don't know the ins and the outs. But David Moyes coming back might even be the best thing for him. It might be the best thing for him. He might go back and go, do you know what? Sod this, I'm going to do what I did 10, 15 years ago, and I'm going to sort it out, and I'm going to go and do it. Good luck to you, David. Good luck to you, Moisey. Go back and make Everton the powerhouse that they were under you, and then we'll get someone in who, you know what, fuck knows what we're going to get in, because we've got to do someone who's A, good in a relegation battle, and B, who's got a chance of winning a European Cup and possibly an FA Cup. So they've got to do a million and one things and doing really well. So, and plus, be governed by a dictator like David Sullivan. So they're in for a tough ride. We're in for a strange ride. I don't think we'll go down, personally. I know I'm slightly changing the subject now, but I just thought I'd say that.
That's actually a perfect segue, Luke, because I'm going to get onto that, because obviously it's Dyche now to Everton.
I'd have Dyche, by the way. I'd have Dyche all day long, personally. Yeah. Sorry.
So, Gatesy, the fact that Everton have now made a managerial change as well. I mean, there's a few teams around us now have done it. So it's now Everton, Southampton, Villa, Wolves, all changing their managers. Do you think Sean Dyche going to Everton is something that will likely work and put even more pressure on us as regards our relegation struggle, given that we're still employing the manager who this season is doing a piss poor job?
Oh God, yeah. I think that he's obviously at a disadvantage, because he's going into an Everton Football Club that are in disarray, and he's going in there in the dying embers of the transfer window. But listen, you know what you're going to get with Sean Dyche. He's going to play 4-4-2 in all likelihood. It has its benefits, also has its pitfalls. But I think that he will very likely get a tune out of Everton Football Club. I actually don't think they're going to go down. I really don't think they're going to go down with Sean Dyche. I think it will be close. I think it will be possibly last game of the season job, perhaps. But I think he'll manage. He'll have enough to get something out of the players that they've got. I think they are better than what they have shown. I don't think that this is not a vintage Everton squad by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think that they're as bad. I put it this way: I think that there are going to be 3 worse teams than them after the 38th game is played. I don't think that we're one of them, just for clarity. I think that if I had to put my neck on the chopping block, and say which 3 are going down, I personally think Southampton, Bournemouth, and I still think there's going to be a team that's going to get dragged into it. And I think it will probably be that Nottingham Forest. They might have had a bit of a resurgence of late, but I think they're gonna get sucked back in. I think it will be those 3.
Is Gary O'Neill still the manager of Bournemouth?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So that's
He
a
is,
mad one as well. That's a mad one because they got a new investor as well in that.
Well, they talked back, or they were in conversations with Bielsa, but opted to give O'Neill the contract.
Have you heard the rumor today? I don't know if it's true. It could be just a rubbish Facebook rumor that apparently Bielsa was interested in the Everton job, and then they said that, well, you got this to do, that to do, and he was like, probably won't be able to save him with the time I've got left. Can I manage the under-21s and then take over full time in the summer? And do you know what? That is the kind of thing to me that just means he's made for West Ham. He's just a nutter. He's a complete football nutter, and West Ham is a nutty fucking football club, and we need someone nutty to come in and absolutely run it. And the more I hear about his stories, the more I think Bielsa might be the perfect fit for us. I don't Dyche, but I think he might be the perfect fit.
Yeah, I think Bielsa's almost the antidote to David Moyes, isn't he? We've been watching this kind of turgid
Joker versus Batman
football, and then Bielsa would come in, and it would be hair on fire, kind of attack 7 goals every game, and it would
we've got injuries now.
We definitely wouldn't be bored. It would be the exact.
I kind of think. I've just got this like weird nightmare story about Bielsa coming in, and I think there would be fucking protests quicker than there would be with Moyes staying in charge, because I think he would be so. Listen, there's no ifs or buts about it. Bringing Bielsa in would be a roller coaster. Whatever roller coaster emotions we're on right now, I think it would be the best roller coaster ride we'll ever go on. But it might not end up in the result we want. It could, it couldn't. We don't know. But I think he's the sort of guy that's just fucking mental. It's like, do we really want that? I don't know. Maybe we do.
Yeah, it could be out of the frying pan into the fire kind of thing. But but obviously,
it's funny you say that, Tommy. It's like what? Interestingly, when you've got someone who's so, and he is reputable, why is no one else getting him? Why is he not being tempted on it? Is it because he's not choosing jobs, or what?
He doesn't do many jobs, does he? I think he does. I think after the Marseille job, he didn't take over at Leeds straight away, did he? I think he has little chunks here and there. But he's well renowned. He does random jobs as well. I think he was like during the World Cup, before the World Cup or something like that. He went into the Poland team and he gave them a PowerPoint document on coaching, and it was like they just invited him along because he's Bielsa and because he's got a high reputation in football. And he's maybe kind of one of them guys that you want in the background, maybe like an assistant or a coach behind the scenes. I know obviously he's probably better than that, but you look at how what was Leeds missing something with him? Were Leeds actually capable of giving him what he needed to succeed at Leeds, or was he trying to always fight in a battle? It's funny because there's a Leeds fan at work, and he says, "So what's it like watching the Bielsa team?" He said, "It's great to watch." He said, "But you can't defend. The players can't defend for anything. They're just told to basically attack with the attackers." He said, "But the one thing is the fact that he just demands so much fitness. They've got to be like robots. So they were getting constant injuries because all he was doing to do was just the ultimate fitness of a footballer and getting as much as he could out of him. But to the point where it was like, players have got to recover." Bielsa at some point, they've got to have a breather, they've got to try and get some air back, and he wasn't letting them do it. He was like, "No, you keep running."
Yeah, because he demands, doesn't he? He demands like 8-hour days and shit like that.
Yeah, he's mad.
Given the age profile of our team, I mean that could be an absolute disaster.
Yeah,
imagine Zuma with his knee.
We wouldn't be able to play that style of football. We just wouldn't have the energy. Not with, like I say, not with the oldest or second oldest squad in the Premier League. There's absolutely no chance we could play Bielsa ball. No way.
I tell you one guy would like him, Nigel Khan, because Nigel Khan likes goals, and they are a team that both can see goals and score goals. I like goals as long as we're scoring them. I can't stand goals that we've conceded.
Yeah,
but
I think just going back to the relegation issue, I agree with 2 of the 3 definitely, Luke. Or was it you, Luke? Wasn't it?
I said Dyche just on that case. People are wondering why I said Dyche. I've seen an interview with him just after he got sacked from Burnley, and they asked him about his style of play and this thing that he's labelled with as being like a bit of a Sam Allardyce kind of guy. And he goes, "Look, I'm not." He said, I am up for playing attacking football. The difference is I need the players to play that role." And he said, "With all due respect to Burnley, we never had any money." He said, "I knew I was never getting any money. I was told before the season started, you're not getting any money in the transfer kit. You've got to use what you've got." And he said, "Fine." He said, "I'll do what I can with what I've got." And it lasted for a few years, and we even got a bit into Europe. But after that, he said that it just doesn't work. And I asked him, I said, like, "What was it like when you got sacked?" He goes, the players know when you're getting sacked because the owners are basically making it known that you're going to lose your job, and it's basically even before you kind of think you're getting sacked, everyone knows you're getting sacked before you do, and it's a mutual consent thing. He said, "But people will label me a long ball merchant, label me all day long." He said, "But honestly, if I had better players in my team, I'd play them and I'd try to get the best out of them and try and play a different style of football." So I was like, "Do you know what? Fair play. At least he's being honest."
Yeah, well, I suppose we're going to find out now, but because he does have, I think, better players at Everton than he did at Burnley.
Maybe.
So we'll see what you can get out of them. But the worry for me is if Dyche comes in and they get that new manager bounce and he does a good job and they start pushing up the table to safety, that's another team that are out of the relegation kind of dogfight. I agree that Southampton and Bournemouth will go. I do think they'll go. But then we are right in the mix for that 3rd spot, because if Everton do push up that table and Dyche comes in and turns things around, then you're looking at ourselves, Forest, Leeds, teams like that. And I'm not so sure about Forest. I think they're going to be all right, I think they've got enough about them, Forest, that they'll pick up enough points to survive. I think they've really improved in recent weeks, Forest. They've kind of got the mix right now, and they're results that have really picked up. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm really worried if Everton start pushing up the table. And we've still got Moyes here in a few games' time, because these next few games, I mean, going up to Newcastle, they're getting a couple of new signings in the next few days. It looks like good signings as well. That's going to be incredibly difficult to get anything from. It really is. I mean, they just don't concede goals. It's ridiculous. I mean, and we don't score them. So how we win that, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't even see us getting a point there. And obviously, then we've got Chelsea and we've got Tottenham. Really tough games given how poorly we're playing. And then we've got that crunch 6-pointer again at home to Forest. I think by the time that Forest game comes round, we're going to be back in the relegation zone, banging trouble again, very possibly with Moyes still in charge. It's just a very, very worrying time, and I think the board have got to do something now, because do you see? I mean, I think we did it, Gatesy, on your show when I was on, about how many points we think West Ham will get for the rest of the season. We went through it fixture by fixture, and I think I had us finishing on 37 points. And
more optimistic than I had. I had 31.
Yeah, and I was on the more optimistic end of the scale. I mean, I think you and James had even less points, but it's a real worry. And that was obviously considering Moyes being in charge and things, not picking up, because I don't expect them to pick up so much given our fixture list in this second half of the season. These last 18 games, a lot of them are just not easy games. And right now, the only team we've beaten in these last few weeks is the only team really that was probably in a worse free fall than we were. And so, I've seen, I think, optimism on Twitter after that win that was unwarranted. And I don't think this is a big turnaround. I mean, how do you feel, Anton? I mean, I know you haven't gone through it game by game looking at the fixtures. I had us finishing on around 37 points under Moyes. So if Everton pick up, I mean, do you feel as well that we're banging trouble?
I'm kind of game by game right now. I feel that I get it. I get Everton weren't good. I understand that. But I try and put it in context, and I look at the Wolves game, and I think to myself, Wolves were shit as well, but they beat us. I think I don't know if I'm right what I'm about to say, but are Wolves not like the worst goal scorers in the league? I don't know if they're even worse than Everton. But they managed to put a goal past West Ham, and then we played. You could say Everton are in free fall, but they are at least score more goals than what Wolves did, and we turned them over. So I think it plays in both ways. I get it. It wasn't the best team in the league, but we certainly needed the win. I think we can. I kind of agree with Luke. I don't think we'll go down. I don't feel the same way I felt about the year where we had Di Canio and Defoe in terms of being too good to go down. I believe that exists absolutely, but I think I have to judge it again in 3 or 4 games because I don't know. I mean, if we do pick up somehow, the next run of games are difficult on paper, and right now, if we keep playing the way that we have been playing, then we've got no chance to run on. But these are the games that if we can't, yeah, you're right. If we get to Nottingham Forest and we haven't won anything or got anything, then fuck. Like, I mean, I've been quite vocal. I've not said I'm Moyes in, Moyes out at all. I'm bang in the middle. I'm right bang in the middle. And the game against Wolves nearly swayed me to come into the Moyes out department. But quite quickly, I went straight back into the middle again because I don't want Dyche. I don't want him. It's not who I want. It doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. I just don't want him. Absolutely did not want Rafa Benitez. Fuck me, I didn't want Rafa Benitez. Like,
I was all right with that. But
and just to add,
only short term.
Just to add something else into the mix, Everton have just got 60 million quid for Gordon from Newcastle. So Dyche will be able to reinvest. On the brink. On the brink of it,
16 million.
60 million.
He's never worth 16 million.
So that's 60 million quid in the kitty for Dyche.
He hasn't got a full England cap, has he?
No.
He's not worth that.
So,
Jesus.
but then,
Well,
in a
not
minute,
right now. I think
No.
obviously, look, 60 million is a punt on a player that they believe,
Fucking big punt,
at least that Eddie Howe believes.
Eddie Howe get the best out
He's
of him.
got the
man, that's
right
the
stuff, and he might be proven right, he might not, but nonetheless, it's 60 million quid in the coffers.
listen, I've said it all along. This season's been so up and down in terms of team selection. Like, I think we've missed Cornet massively. Like, Cornet could have been. I'm not saying it was just a one-man game changer, but I think he is a potential game-changing player. He's a guy that bridges that gap. He's the midfield to the striker.
Stretches the opposition, doesn't he, Anton?
Absolutely. And if you think, I think up until recently, he was like our highest assists player in the team, and even on top of that, he had a goal chopped off against Chelsea. Shouldn't have been. He won penalties, albeit people were saying like, yeah, he was rolling around and stuff like that. And I get that, but he was scoring goals and he was doing stuff. And I think he was a kind of really vital player. I think about Scamacca's start to his West Ham career. It's been so stop-start. Like, the one thing that pissed me off about Scamacca was he didn't start from the start. The moment he came in, that was the shit thing. Like, I'm not comparing Scamacca to Haaland, but Man City signed Haaland, albeit a month earlier than what West Ham signed Scamacca, but they started him in the first game because that's how you bed him in. That's how you bed him in.
But I think there was a pattern for me with this team this season, right? And I knew something was wrong and something was up when Fabianski started in goal instead of Areola. And I was like, why? This is Man City at home. And I was thinking, well, we signed Areola permanently now. That was like the big change. Okay, right, we've signed him now. That's it. We've got the goalkeeper. Good. That's it. That's done. That's signed. That's it. Obviously, Agard got injured. I think Agard has personally been a massive miss for us from the start. I think that was kind of Moyes' big signing, Agard. And I think the fact that he was out sort of rumbled him a little bit and it shook him up a little bit. But when you see that there's so many players in that team that, Creswell got sent off in 2 European games last season, which were both more or less his fault. And that starts to mentally think he's not really at this top level, maybe. Maybe he's not really cut out for it like we thought maybe he was because he's doing quite well this season. And I think it's just that whole thing of, Souček keep getting played over anyone else, even if he's not performing. So there's factors in it. And this is what I'm trying to say to people is the fact that, as good as any player can be in that team, if they're not being utilised, even forget youth players because they're at this point they're like a bonus commodity. If you can't even get your first team players that are performing to start in the first team in a regular Premier League game, you're going to struggle. And for me, starting Fabianski in the first game was the start of Moyes not letting go, not advancing, not evolving, not saying right, out with the okay performing players and in with the players who are going to propel us up the league. So Areola not starting was just sitting the rot, and I think the team was just kind of okay against Forest. We hit the bar a couple of times and whatever. We were lucky just to lose 1-0, whatever. But the fact is the fact that we've not been convincing in hardly any games this season, and I think a lot of that.
Yeah, if you look at that game away at Wolves, I mean, 9 of the starting 11 players were here 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just an old team. But Gatesy, obviously, look, we've got Derby away on Monday night, FA Cup. Do you think the result of that will have any bearing on Moyes' position?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I think this is essentially a free hit, unless Derby absolutely humiliate us and make us look stupid. But even then, I think he's probably not. He's not going to put out a full strength 11. I doubt it. I think he might go stronger than some people suspect. I mean, I remember I think it was in the cup last year against Leeds. I think a lot of people were expecting not as strong a team as he put out. So I'm expecting a close to full strength 11, but I am expecting a few changes. If we got absolutely annihilated, then maybe, but I think even that's probably unlikely. I think that whatever happens on Monday, I think he's going to be the manager for Newcastle. And here's a little piece of information for you. I got very, very lucky for the second time in the club ballot for tickets. I've got 4 tickets for Newcastle away.
Oh, nice one. Well done, mate.
Can't be bad.
Long journey. And
so you are going, Gatesy?
Yes, mate.
Oh, good, mate. I was looking for, just to slightly digress, I was looking for 3.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah?
Here we go. He's going to try off the.
I was, because I was planning on going. That would have been my first game this season, and that would have sparked me going for the rest of the season. But it's a long story, but I'll explain to you separately why I didn't get the tickets.
He's going to try and get the 3 off you, go see.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. He's trying to buy them off you.
Well, you'll have to prize one of them out of my daughter's hand, and that is not going to be easy.
Yeah. And Anton, what do you think? Do you agree with Gatesy? Do you think this will have any bearing on his position?
No, I think it would have to be a crazy result against them for anything to happen. So even if we were to get beat, I don't even think the next Premier League game is, or the next couple possibly is. We're 4 days away from the transfer window closing. I think Moyes is here for the foreseeable.
Yeah. What's your gut feeling on this, Luke? I mean, assuming you agree, I mean, I agree as well. I don't think the Derby result will have any bearing on his position at the club, but I was hoping that a loss at Newcastle would do it, because it doesn't matter to me. Right now, I don't think we're in a position where you can allow for who we're playing anymore. I don't think he has that luxury anymore, to me, that you can't just say, well, it was Newcastle away. It's very hard for anyone to go up there and win. To me, we're beyond that point. We're at the point now where I feel Moyes is in a position where you have to start winning games, no matter what games they are. You've got to start winning points. I would like to think a loss at Newcastle would mean his head. What do you think, Luke?
I don't know. I must admit, when we got Brentford away, I gave up on the FA Cup. I thought that's a typical away, dreaded against a team that's in form. They're going to do us about 2 or 3. We're not going to care, because we're not going to care about the cups. When we won 1-0, I have now naively got that FA Cup buzz that I'm thinking we can fully go to the final and win it and have an amazing. So it's done me. I'm actually looking forward to it. I didn't think I thought Derby away. That's all we need. Away to a lower league. So they love to put us on TV because they're expecting an upset. I think we could win. I actually think we could win. It could give the team a boost. It could give exactly what we're starting to sort of pick some sort of after that win against Everton. We've sort of got a bit of momentum behind us. But I don't think he'll get sacked. I really don't think it's because I think he'd have been sacked by now. I think it would have happened by now, and I think that they're thinking to see if he can just if he can just finish 17th. He's got us going well in the Conference League, and if he can get us through a few rounds in the FA Cup, that's all they're looking for. I don't see the owners as being greatly ambitious. You've got to remember as well, David Gold's just died, so they're going to be kind of dragging that along for a little bit for them being cut up and too emotional to go through trying to find a new manager and stuff like that. So I don't unless we start getting embarrassed by teams. We go to Newcastle and lose 5-0. And the players just look like they just don't play for him. They're just down in the dumps. There's no motivation. If we go to Derby and we lose, I don't know, if we're 2-0 down by half time, and then it's the fans start getting the ump and everything like that. But if we're like going and we're losing 1-0 and we've played okay, we've had a few attacks in the second half, and we haven't, we could have won it. We could have won it in the second half. We could have got a set piece here and there, and made it worthwhile. And we played very well, even though we played very well.
I thought it was Gatesy for a second.
But the other thing about that, Luke, is I hear what you're saying, but if it's also the case that they're looking to sell the club, relegation would be an absolute disaster.
Yeah, but they would. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, because that's what I would thought would have happened, especially with Kretinsky in there. I would have thought they've gone, right, we can't even let it get near relegation. If you've got to November and we're doing badly, you're out the door, because we can't have that, because we've got the World Cup coming up. And then he goes onto a fucking podcast and openly admits to turning down one of the best fucking players of the World Cup, and still has a job. And he's clearly Karen Brady's mate who's doing the fucking podcast and said he knows Karen Brady. And then it comes out at the worst possible fucking time, and he's still got a job. And it's like every single thing you can possibly do. It's like one of them cartoons where a guy's getting whacked by the hammer, and it's just his teeth are splitting out and his head's caving, and he's a bit like Homer Simpson looking like, and it's just like, okay, they're going to cut it now. It's done. The cartoon's dead, and it keeps going because it keeps going, and it's like you just go, okay, let's see how bad it can get. Let's see how turgid it can get. Let's see how many interviews he can do where he sounds deluded, because nothing makes sense to me about the whole situation, because to me, in a way, I don't know many managers that resign nowadays. They lose too much money. Their contracts are widening. They let themselves get sacked. So to me, the only thing that makes sense is that Moyes is trying to get sacked. Is that he's doing things that he knows he really shouldn't be doing. But then there is also that fact that he is deluded and he's in denial, and everything is in his mind going well, and everything he's doing does make sense. There are a lot of experts out there, so the fans don't know a fucking clue what they're talking about. But in my opinion, he should have been sacked. And if we because we are in a Conference League, we've got that leeway. So we could have gone and tried to get a European manager, like Wolves have got Lopetegui or however you pronounce his name, I don't know. If you go for that pedigree and you go, right, we've got Paqueta in our team, a starter for Brazil, you've got Scamacca, the number one Italy striker, you've got Declan Rice, who's an international for England, and you've got all these players, and you go, we can get someone decent, we can get Unai Emery, we can get someone who's going to propel us up the league. But that should have been done ages ago. So it's now got to the point where we're thinking, well, who are you going to get? You could sack him tomorrow, but who are you going to get? Who's going to want to go in with a team that's got owners like we have? Because we're notoriously not good. Our owners are notoriously terrible at being able to convince people to come and work for them. That's the reason we got David Moyes, because he was cheap and he was going desperate for a job. So we gave him again, and he luckily got us, saved us from relegation, and luckily got us, I'm being a bit harsh there. He probably did deserve it, actually. I'm being a bit over the top, but yeah, he's. I think he was after Lingard, and he started chasing him. That's when the crack started to show, because he didn't buy anyone in January of the next year when we really needed someone to come in. So all these cracks have been showing for a little while. It's not just this season. So no, it doesn't. At this point, it's just like, right, do you know what? If you are good, if you're not good enough to get sacked, let's just see if you're good enough to pull yourself out of this, right? And as much as I don't like David Moyes, right, and as much as you're going to hate me saying this, Tommy, but he hasn't got any credit in the bank where letting himself down this season is concerned. But he's given me a European semi-final, and it's something that I can't hate him for. And whether he's done it by hook or by crook, we got to a European semi-final, and I didn't think we'd ever do that. It's the first for me in my life. I've got so many great memories from last season. That's the only thing I'm appreciative of him for. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, do you know what?
No, look, I do too,
You know,
Luke. I appreciate
Yeah,
I appreciate that
but there's no
European
logic to
one
it,
as well.
really.
It was wonderful. I loved it, and I will always credit him for it. But as you know, Luke, he's just alluded to. I don't go in for this whole credit in the bank stuff. I think you get a certain amount of time to turn around a bad run of form. But I think the
I'm gonna say in
breaking
a minute.
point has to come at some point, and you've got to stop talking about what they did in the past, because it's only going to be to your detriment. He's had more than enough time to turn it around. It's not happening, despite the Everton result. I don't believe that was a turnaround, and I think it was really naive of the board if that's what they think. If they've kept him in the job because he beat Everton, I think that will prove to be folly, and it could cost this club very, very dearly. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to get anything from these next 3 games, and if that does happen, we're into territory where even if you sack him and bring in a new manager, you're still in a very, very difficult spot for that new manager to try and get us out. So I think they're playing with fire as owners that it seems want to sell the club. I think the parachute payments as well are gone. If we go down, it's a disaster. We're going to have to dismantle the team. There's no guarantee that you come back up quickly either, by the way. And that just devalues the club massively, and they won't be in a position to sell the club. They'll have to keep the club and try to reposition the club back to where it was. I think they're playing with fire, and I, hand on heart, I just do not understand it. I don't understand why they would do this to themselves, why they would persist with this. There's no need to. There really is no need to persist with David Moyes. I don't know why they're doing it. I think it's foolhardy. He should be long gone, and we should hopefully already have a new manager well established and seeing our hopefully performances turn around. I will never be able to wrap my head around this. Gatesy, what do you think the board's breaking point actually is with Moyes, if they even have one?
I think probably their breaking point is when the quality of David Moyes' hand jobs on David Sullivan get worse. I can't work out why he's still in a job. He should have gone after the Leicester game. He should have done. I'm sorry, I can't work it out. I mean, we've sat here and we've picked apart a lot of things that David Moyes has got wrong over the last 12, 18 months. I can't work it out, mate. That's the only conclusion I've got left.
Do we actually believe that he would have got sacked if he lost to Everton? Was it El Sacchio? Where Lampard's gone because he lost, but if he'd beaten us,
we'll never know, will we?
Yeah, I mean that was my. I think that was everybody's feeling, but there's no guarantee, is there? I mean,
no.
We just don't really know. I mean, it's astonishing to me that he's still in a job. I don't know what you think, Anton. I can't make a case for why he's still there. I just can't.
I think it's definitely harder for anyone to stick up for him, to be honest. I do admit that. But I've spoke to a lot of fans that don't even come on social media. And their opinion's really interesting as well, and I've spoke to a lot of fans that don't want to have an opinion on social media because they feel that they're going to get fucking destroyed if they do.
So by interesting, do you mean they're Moyes?
No, they're not necessarily Moyes. I've not actually physically met. I don't think I've met a huge amount of people that are pro, like, woohoo, this is great fun. I don't know any West Ham fan would enjoy this.
Say the masochists.
Yeah, I think what you'll get is we've been here, done that, wore a t-shirt before, and the grass isn't always greener. And I think, to be honest, it's not even about going back years and years and years. It's going back to Pellegrini. The Pellegrini thing freaked me the fuck out. It really did. Like, I wasn't enamored by the Pellegrini management signing, but look, you might even remember. I think who else were we linked to at the time? What was it? I don't know. Was it Ancelotti? Was there not a few other big signing managers? I think in terms of the ranking of who every West Ham fan would have wanted, we got probably number 6. However, because we got number 6 or something like that, yes, he came with a good pedigree. It was like, oh well, okay then, we'll just kind of okay, let's go with Pellegrini. Then bang, the money comes in, and that was the last time I remember getting so excited by signing £40 million players. Like, I'll never get excited by that ever again. Pellegrini's ruined signings to me. Like, you know, let's sign this guy, let's sign that guy, let's sign this guy, let's sign that guy.
So what about Scamacca then? Were you not so excited about signing Scamacca for 30 million?
No, but I wasn't looking at the £30 million. I wasn't looking at the money spent. I was looking at Italian number 9.
Right.
Who wouldn't look at that? Like, Italy's number 9. Like, yeah, okay, they didn't qualify for whatever, but they still Italy's number 9, and Italy are looking quite good now. Maybe not then, but they are looking a lot better now as a team. So yeah, that's it. Like, but the Felipe Andersons of the world, when we signed him, I'm fucking buzzing. Like, who wasn't at the time? Like, and Sebastian Haller, and look how that kind of all that sort of stuff panned out. So for me, I'm really dead worried about the other options. I've heard people say we shouldn't build our team on because there's not other options out there that would make us better. But I don't, who the fuck comes in and sorts out what's happening right now?
I personally don't have any faith that the owners will get in someone decent, because I think they've been stung by the Pellegrini fiasco, shall we say, with hiring a director and stuff like that, and then getting in. I don't care what anyone says, right? They never thought that Moyes would achieve what he did achieve for the prior 2 seasons. You know, trying to go for top 4 for 2 seasons running, getting as far as we did in Europe. They never envisioned that. They basically, what happened was he saved us from relegation again, and they went, right, this time we'll give you a chance. Rather than getting you out, getting a Pellegrini in, we'll give you a chance. And they've given him a 3-year deal. I think it's his last year deal next season. Is his last year of his contract, Moyes? I'm not entirely sure, but like they're going right. And what does that say? That probably says it's cheaper to sack him in the summer or get rid. I don't think they've been, apart from Pellegrini, they've not been that great at sort of sacking
I think
managers.
it's like what did they say about advising men not to divorce their wives? What is it? It's cheaper to keep them. So maybe that's the line they're going with.
Some would say, or just hire a hitman, but I couldn't possibly comment.
But maybe honestly, on a serious note, maybe they don't want to come. Maybe they don't want to come to West Ham. They don't want to work under maybe Sullivan and Karen Brady.
Or maybe they don't want to change manager.
There is that.
Yeah,
it
literally is. I mean, because the thing is, like, for me, again, it goes back to, like, what do we believe? Do we believe the majority of West Ham fans want Moyes out? I don't know. What are we basing that? What are we basing that opinion on? Are we basing that opinion on, like, a collection of YouTube channels putting out polls on Twitter, Facebook, on our YouTube channel? What does that mean? Does that mean that that's going to be the answer? I don't think it does. You know, we've had this once before where we had protests planned, and if you'd have read the writings on the wall, you would have thought that 60,000 people were going to turn up to the protests. Yeah, okay, they got 10, 12K at the time. I think it was, wasn't it? Was it something like that? And then as each march happened after that, it got quieter and quieter. But I think that you know, doing the stuff we all do means we get a chance to voice our opinion, and it comes across like it can be a lot of people, but I don't know if it is. I really don't know if it is. Like, I'm not just basing it on my dad's opinion. I'm not, but I'm using that as one example. Like, he is right split down the middle also.
What's Jim think? Come on.
He's right down the middle. Look, mate,
right.
He's right down the middle. He's like, he says his mindset is, who do you go to if you want to get out of this situation? You go, and I know people get pissed off for that comment, but it's a kind of Moyes typey manager. And then my dad looks at the history, albeit 10 years ago, Everton, 2 good seasons, 1 shit season, 2 good seasons, 1 shit season.
That's what they're thinking of as well, I think.
I think they
that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, no, you're right, mate. You're right. It's a long time ago. Yeah. But so, I think, again, my dad turns around to me as a modern football fan and says to me, son, who do you want in charge? And I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh, well, then if you can't tell me who. And I mentioned Bielsa.
Well, that's not our job, Anton. It's not our job.
I know, but I bet
future managers. No, but then, in fairness,
base, though, I mean, like do the majority of the fan base genuinely think they want Moyes out? Like, or is it a?
But then you get a situation where Benitez is linked with us, and there's a lot of fans, especially on social media, that are vehemently against getting Benitez in over. So again, you're like, well, Benitez has won the odd trophy here and there, and we don't want him because he's even worse. For me, the football isn't the problem. For me, the football isn't the football is deploying the problem to the best of your abilities with the best players at your abilities. So if you're gonna play that counter-attacking, stay back for 85 minutes. Do it properly. Don't concede goals, and do what we were doing the first of the season. So, if you're gonna get someone in to do it properly, get a Benitez in, get him doing it properly. If you can, not saying he would be the answer, but it was 3 weeks ago we were linked, and everyone's like, we don't want him. It's like, well, I think it was Nick Killington on Clout and Booze has been saying for ages. He said that it can't be any worse than Moyes. It cannot be. There's no one.
Rafa.
No, but anyone. If you sack Moyes,
I fucking hate that statement. It's bullshit. It is bullshit. It is utter bullshit. It's like you listen to Everton fans and all they say is Benitez was the start of our shit. Like, fuck Benitez. Absolutely not.
To be fair, Benitez never had a chance at Everton. I mean, never hated him before he got on the door.
Yeah, but Benitez was never going to come into West Ham and get given a transfer kitty. Benitez is going to have to work with what the team was in front of him. That was the situation. He was never going to get. He may have got 20 million quid. He was never going to get any more. Lampard's the same. What did Lampard get? He got nothing. I just don't believe that whole kind of anyone's better than Moyes. I don't believe it because it's not true. It's not true. Do you want Pellegrini back? No. It's not true. I know I'm taking a piss with the Pellegrini comment, but I do need to go, lads. But I just want to quickly address that comment from Ralph. Tommy, I know he put it up there. That's my point, Ralph. My point is, go on all forums. You're then saying, Ralph, that forums represent the majority of West Ham fans. If I'm wrong in saying that, I take that back. But is that what you're saying? And that's the part I'm intrigued about. I know there's a lot of people, but what I will say is, in the YouTube world, you'll have everyone crossing over. That's just what happens. People cross over. So you may get, if you've got, at one point, you have 100 views or 200 viewers on the channel, you may get 100 of them go to another channel, 100 of them go to another channel, 100 of them go to another channel. So you'll get that kind of diluted version of it. I just don't know if it represents the majority. I bring it up, people get pissed off with it, but it's true. The Scottish referendum years ago, if anyone watched the news, it was an overwhelming victory for Scotland to go independent. Overwhelming. During that time of my life, on social media, I saw brothers and sisters and mums and dads and sons fall out of love with each other and hate each other over that whole situation. But you would have believed by a landslide they were going to win. And I tell you why they didn't win, because the silent voters were too scared to talk.
And you got exactly the same. And to back up that, actually, Anton, the exact same thing happened in the US elections in 2016. All of the news was that Hillary Clinton was going to win by a landslide. Trump had absolutely no chance. All the polling was leading one way, suggesting one thing. And then Trump came and won, and they were all absolutely shocked. So I accept your point.
That's not coming from the point of going, I'm Moyes in. That's the only thing I'm trying to say.
I understand
the representation of West Ham fans. I don't
necessarily believe
social media is the thing.
Yeah, it probably isn't quite as one-sided as it appears on social media, but I do still think it's very much. I would say at the very least it's 75-25 at this point. At the very least, I think there is a huge groundswell for change. I really do.
I seen a random comment on Twitter referencing Burnley for the Everton game. Right, so I hold my hand up. I've not been to any games this year. It fucking pains me and hurts me that I can't get to the stadium, but I've got a situation. That's just what happens. However, for me, there was not a single. There was no similarity. Even if we had got beaten by Everton, that stadium would have gone mega toxic. The only way that stadium would have gone mega toxic would have been a 5-0 defeat or something fucking ridiculous. But it was never going to go Burnley route. It was never going to go Burnley route, in my opinion. So
it was. I didn't go myself, but friends and family of mine did go to the game, and I asked them what it was like, and they said it was tense. So you could cut the tension, but it was very quiet, and it was very tense, and it was like I think it was when Bowen scored or something. It was like, oh, everyone got relieved. Like I've scored a goal. We're actually, we've not been the better football team, but we've played okay for our standards. But apparently the atmosphere in the stadium was very tense. Now I'm not saying that equates to if we'd have conceded a goal or gone 2-0 down like we did against Brentford, that would have meant protests and people running to the pitch and whatever like that. But I do think it's getting to the point where it's like, I think the protests 4 or 5 years ago were for different reasons. It wasn't anything really to do with the manager. It was for different reasons. It was to do with the club and the move and everything like that. Now, it's more to do with you need to change something because we're in a better position than we should be, and nothing's being done, and people are getting a bit sick and tired of it. I don't think people protest really for results on the pitch and managers going. I think they'd probably, the manager would get the abuse rather than the owners in that respect. But
if things had gone okay on the pitch, the protests wouldn't have happened. I spoke to you today, Luke, and I said to you from the start, from the moment, our biggest moment was the move from Upton Park to London Stadium. I fell under that stupid spell. I turned up at Stratford. I bought my season ticket. I watched that video, Ray Winston fucking talking over it, convincing me that this move was the best thing ever. I believed it. I sat there, believed it. And then that summer, David Sullivan, after the Manchester United game, the next day, Sky Sports hung about. He said, we've put two big bids in. I think at the time it was supposed to be Lacazette and Batshuayi, but we didn't know at the time. It was just the rumours kicking about. And I was like, yes, this is our time. This is our time. We ended up with Zaha, ended up with Faguli, Tor, Nordveit, all those types of players. The season was shit. And that was the start. That summer, that's the summer was when I went, and look, you'll remember this. I was not Moyes out. I was bored out. I was totally bored out. Gone.
Yeah. I still am, by the way. I still am.
I am as well. I tapped out. That was when I tapped out. So all this 180 million pound or 70 million pound we spent recently is 3 or 4 windows too late. And I think someone had said if we had maybe brought in, I don't know if it was you, look, 3 players back in January when we really needed them, and 3 of those 8 players came in back in January, they would be bedded in by now, and maybe things would be a little bit different. But we've brought such a drastic change, and I've said this before. This is not the end of the change. The summer's coming. We've got rid of 3 from 8 players out of contract. We've got 5 players left out of contracts. We are about to hit, no matter what manager comes in, probably the biggest transition of our West Ham modern lives, because we're about to have a whole new fucking squad coming through the door. It's 8 players. We have to replace those 8 players, and we're already thin-ish on the squad, on the ground. So,
yeah, and it appears we may be making the same mistake again in this January transfer window of not bringing in players with a view to having less to integrate next season. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So we'll just move on briefly to Monday, Gatesy. What's your gut feeling on Monday? Do you think we'll go through? I mean, Derby are flying it. I think they've won 6 in a row in League One. They're high on confidence. It'll be interesting to see how they approach it. I think they'll probably make some changes, but I'd imagine they'll put a fairly strong team out. You feeling confident for Monday, or you think this is a real banana skin flip up on?
No, I am not feeling confident. I think, like I say, it hinges on the teams, though. That's the thing with the FA Cup, is you're never quite sure, is one team going to take it mega seriously and is the other team going to disregard it? It's really difficult to sort of guess how the managers are going to see things. I think that obviously the fact that we're in the situation we are in the Premier League might mean that David Moyes might make more. I mean, I referenced the Leeds game in the FA Cup last season where he certainly went stronger than I thought he was going to go in that game. And I think that was that in the third or fourth round, whatever. It was the same sort of stage of the competition, early stages. He went very strong, but the situation then was we was a lot further up the table. I'm not quite sure that he's gonna be able to put out maybe as strong a team as he would ordinarily like, because he's obviously his priority is going to be Premier League survival. So that then makes it more likely that maybe a shock could happen. And when I say a shock, even because, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm right in saying that the replay is an option, isn't it? So we could have a game at London Stadium. I've got to be honest. I think I would. Yeah, I think I'd rather go out on Monday night rather than have a replay. I just think that would be like, oh my God, are you for real?
Anton, what do you actually? Sorry, before we go, Gatesy, give me a scoreline. Go on.
Heart or head?
Both. Go on. Give me both.
Oh Jesus! My heart says we're going to win, and we're going to win 2-0. My head says it's going to be a 1-1 draw and it's going to a replay.
That's what we need. Fabulous. Anton, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 West Ham win. We'll get the job done and move to the next round. You're asking a guy here that's half glass full all the time. Like, I'm trying my best. Like, I do think we can do the job 2-1. I'm not taking away from the fact that they're playing in a lower league, and like I appreciate that it's an upset, and I appreciate that's why we're on the telly. I get that, but yeah, 2-1 win for me, and a mixed bag of players. Like, I think it's going to be, probably agree with Gatesy. I think it's going to be more stronger than what we anticipate. Myself and Russ are going to do a video soon about the predicted 11, and I'm going to say something, and Russ is going to go, "Oh, we'll do this and do that," and I think we'll get quite a strong 11 out there.
Yeah,
hopefully. Luke, what's your gut?
I'm actually going to agree with Anton. I'm going to go 2-1 to us. I don't know why. I think because we were terrible against Blackburn in the League Cup, and we made a pig's arse for that. But I think the win against Everton has maybe given us a bit of a booster. We're going away, so there's less pressure of being at home. They are a League One team. They might be flying high, and they will want this. They will see this as being like fresh meat. With a team struggling in the Premier League, they're pretty put out quite a strong team. So we're gonna have a game on our hands. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. But I can also see it being a Benrahma masterclass. Couple of goals from him, winning 2-1. Don't know if we're going to come back to win 2-1, or if we're going to score 2 goals and they're going to score 1 or whatever. But I am going to go for a 2-1, and I don't think we need a replay. I think we want to get the job done, get in, get out, and live to fight another day.
Yeah, I think this one will be close because I think, as we all know, Moyes likes to keep things tight early on. And we're away from home. Derby are in great form. Derby do the opposite. Derby's manager likes them to come out the traps really quickly. Yeah. He likes them to get after teams right from the first whistle, and he likes to press high. So they will use a high press, and they'll start very quickly. So that's a little bit of a worry for me. If they score early, we could be in a bit of bother. But I do think we'll put out quite a strong team, and I think the team we have out will just have enough to get through it. But I do think it'll be really tight and a very difficult game. Scoreline's hard to predict. I do think Derby will score. So again, I'd agree with the 2-1. I think 2-1 is going to be a popular opinion. So that's what I'm going with. I think we'll go through. I think we'll just about have enough. And just before we go, because we spoke about this already, and I just want to get your thoughts, Anton, and yours as well, Luke, because I know what me and Gatesy have said. Like I said, we've projected forward. So obviously I don't expect you to remember every fixture the rest of the season. But if we take, say, the next 4 and assume Moyes is in charge for those games. So we're away at Newcastle, home to Chelsea, away to Tottenham, home to Forest. And
do you want the fixture, Tom?
No, I don't really need us to go the whole season.
No.
I just want to do the next 4 because I know Anton's got to go and Luke's probably going to have a crying baby as well soon. So,
let's just leave it a minute. I'm quite lucky.
But so those 4 games, Anton. I mean, what do you think we're going to come out of with those? And are we going to be looking at relegation zone and massive 6-pointer like the Everton game when it comes to the home fixture against Forest again?
It's such a tough one, isn't it? Such a tough one. You know, the bigger they come, the harder they fall. The games you should step up for. We've got a history of doing it. We can do it. Tottenham, London Derby can go anyway. We've seen no matter what happens, we could be 3-0 down and that Lanzini goal, like, holy shit. So anything can happen. But for me, I mean, would I be happy with 4 points? No. Would I take them? Yes. Because on paper, yeah, it's extremely tough. But I would I don't know, I'd want minimum. Obviously, you want as much as you possibly can. So for the next 4 games, I still think it's going to be 4 losses in a row, that or something like that is what's going to push Moyes out the door. But I think we're more than capable of stepping up. I think we are, if we can get these players back. You know, the vitals are Ings, Scamacca, potential Corney. Like, apparently Corney's going to be back in the training facility on Monday, so we're going to take a look at what he's going to be doing. You have them all fit. You're giving yourself a chance. You're giving yourself a chance. Whether we take it or not, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, because, I mean, I'll come to you obviously now, Luke, but like I was saying earlier, Anton, I think we're at a stage in the season and a predicament in our season where I don't think it matters who we're playing now. I don't think it matters that we're away at Newcastle. It's a really tough game. That we have Chelsea, tough game. That we have Tottenham, tough game. We're beyond the point of allowing for losses because of who we're playing. We have to start winning games. We desperately need the points. Desperately. Because if we can't pick them up, we're going to be right back to square one, down right in the relegation zone, bang in trouble by the time we come round. And the Forest game is going to be another bloody El Sacchio or something like that. So we're beyond the point where we can say, well, it's the Newcastle away. You know, you can't really complain about a loss there. We can now. We have to win these games now, Anton.
We actually, the last time we played at St. James's Park, I was at it when we beat them 3-0.
4-2, wasn't it?
No, that was the second last game. Actually, I've been a very successful away West Ham at St. James's Park fan. And so I see, yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that one. Look, yeah, 4-2, and then the one before that was 3-0. But the one where it was 3-0 when Chicharito and Felipe Anderson was playing, we actually went into that game in really bad form, and everyone was calling for Felipe Anderson to play through the middle, and Moyes, Pellegrini changed it and put him through the middle, and bang, it was a whole different game. We were feeding Chicharito. We banged a couple of goals and we beat them 3-0 away. And I know Newcastle are an extremely different team. I get that. I absolutely get that. There's been subtle changes. I mean, to all of us, we must have seen the subtle changes that Moyes has made that must have gone, holy shit, why is Souček's not playing? Or you're bringing him off a bit earlier? Like, even if it's subtle, they've been subtle. And if that happens and continues to happen for these games, and Souček doesn't start and then comes on as the impact, or Downs comes on with an impact to close it down, and Scamacca's back fit with Danny Ings and blah, 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 and everything, as my mum says, and you might know this one saying, if you had a square hole, you'd be shitting bricks. Tommy, you know, that's a famous saying my mum says from Tip as well. So, and I keep saying if, but it's true. Like, if we can have this player back and that player back, and Moyes does some of his changes, then we're in with that. We can do it. You know, we can do it. Earlier on in the season, when we played Chelsea, I mean, we should never have, we should have fucking beat them. Like, we would have 3 points on the board if VAR didn't fuck us over. Like, or minimum a point.
Yeah. What do you think, Luke? Next 4 games?
That comment about playing Felipe Anderson through the middle, did that happen after that game? Did he continue to do that, or did he put him back on the left wing? Because that actually frustrates me so much, remembering how good that game was and how it actually gave Fernandes service to score goals. Because I don't remember it happening ever again.
Yeah, I can't actually remember.
No, no. I know what you're saying, Tommy. I do know what you're saying, and for me, I think as much as you are right, this is West Ham, right? Every West Ham fan for years has always known you're more likely to beat a Man United away than you are a Nottingham Forest at home. It's always been the way. That's
Not
West
under
Ham.
Moyes.
No,
Not
no, I
under
know.
Moyes, we never win those games ever.
No, I know, and it's funny enough because prior to the 2 seasons prior to this season, we was doing it the right way around. We were beating the teams that are around us and lowering the table, and then losing to the top teams, and that's why we were competing for the top 4 because we're actually winning and doing the things we should do. Now we've reverted and we can't even win the games we were winning. So that's another one of my point, Tommy, is the fact that these games are tough. Newcastle away, I'm completely writing off. I don't think we'll get anything from that. I think we'll probably lose 3-0, 4-0. Chelsea at home, we could win because I think Graham Potter's in a transitional period for them. I think he's a good manager, but I think he's struggling to find his feet at a club of that stature, and they're there for the taking. Who's next after that?
Away to Tottenham.
Well, Tottenham, we could do that because it's Tottenham. In the day, they're very few and far between. They can go either one way or they can go another. So I think we could do that. Not in the Forest at home, we could win that. We could win that. So that's 3 games out of 4 that I think we could win. I think any other manager apart from David Moyes tells the players to go for it a bit and go and try and get the win. If we win and shithouse and 1-0, fantastic. I'll take that all day long. I don't care. As long as we get the result, and that's fine.
Well, I'm going to hold you. I'm going to hold. And then
there's
we've got home to Forest. So listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you and Anton's feet to the fire. How many points are we going to pick up?
what in them
The end
4
of the
games?
season.
Yeah, and no, on those next 4 games, Premier League games.
9 points for me.
I fucking love
That's
that.
very
Imagine
optimistic.
Imagine
It
that.
is. It is. But then I didn't think we'd beat Everton. To be honest
So
with
where
you.
are we? Which 3 teams are we going to beat?
But not Newcastle. Everyone but Newcastle.
Okay, we're going to win at home to Chelsea, win away at Tottenham, and then win at home to Forest. So 3 wins on the bounce after we lose to Newcastle. Yeah.
I wasn't going to be.
Yeah,
I wasn't going
you're-
to be optimistic. But listen, look, you said to me what happened after the West Ham beat Newcastle 3-0 last time. We went on a 4-game winning run. 4-game winning run, albeit I know that it was a very different situation.
No, yeah, I know what you mean.
But we
I do.
did.
But that's the thing, Tommy. I'm trying to be realistic because I think that we've got results in the last 10 games. I didn't think we'd get. That's the only hope I've got. I didn't think we'd beat Brentford in the cup. Didn't think we'd beat Everton at home. So I'm. If we, it depends. It actually also depends how it goes Monday night. Monday night could be a bigger result than we actually think it is. And if we go and beat Derby 3-0 away, that could be a massive confidence boost we didn't really think could be. If you go and lose 3-1 or 3-0 or something like that, or lose 1-0 and play terrible, it could have the adverse effects. We could go and lose them all terribly next 4 games in the league. So I'm not confident at all with Newcastle. They're too confident. They're too good a form. But at the same time, I think the other lots are worth. I have to be honest because I've got no faith really in David Moyes, but I've got faith sometimes in the players, or they've got a bit of luck. There was just in case, another reason why I saw a Twitter thread just quickly. I saw a Twitter thread. I can't remember who he does it now. He's very good analytics wise.
Jack,
That's probably the one I'm thinking of. Right?
Analytics United.
Yes, and he was saying that Saturday against Everton was the first time this season we had the luck. So the first time the ball went over from a cross and it come off a defender of Everton and went to Bowen and he managed to finish it. And then the second goal was a deflection off an Antonio cross that fell right into Bowen's path and he couldn't miss the shot. And then there was a chance for Iwobi who fell perfect to him and it come off Rice and didn't go in the net. It went past the post. And we haven't had that luck this season. And there's been so many times during the season we haven't had that luck. And this game we did have the luck. And do you know what? Something the old man's always said the ball never falls for us. If it bounces around if it goes from a corner and it gets headed down, it never comes to one of our players. And I know you make your own luck and you've got to be there to win your second balls, but there's little things that happen in football and we never seem to get the luck. And we did in the last game. So I'm hoping that Lady Luck has robbed the magic lamp or whatever you want to call it. And Sunday night we go and beat Derby. and then we go and beat Newcastle, and then we go and beat Chelsea, and then we go and beat Spurs and Nottingham Forest, and suddenly all looks rosy. And Nick and Tommy will just be seething because Moyes is still the manager and they can't do the manager, and it's really not like, yes, we're winning, but we're not winning the way I want it to win.
No, look, I'll be delighted. I'll tell you what.
I'm
If
joking.
you're
by the
right,
way.
we win them 3 games in the bounce, I'll be delighted. I never want West Ham to lose, regardless.
Same here.
Even under Big Sam, who I despise, I never sit down in front of my screen to watch West Ham and want us to lose ever. I'll tell you what, if you're right, if we get 9 points out of the next 4, I mean that's going to be an unbelievable shout.
I'm actually looking at that 2018 season. So before we played Newcastle, we had picked up 12 points by the end of November, and it was the next 4 games that saved that season. It was the next 4 games that saved that season. Starting by
anything is in sport. Anything is possible. It really is.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened. How many points, Anton? Sorry, do you?
I mean, I'm fucking hell. Look, man, you're like, I've never heard you so positive in life about West Ham. So, I mean, I was going to go a lot less, but you've made me feel like I need to beat you.
It's me kind of going.
I get
it. Fuck it. Let's just.
I think there is an element of that just now. So I'll go. I mean, I thought I would accept 4, but I think
say 12.
6. 6. I'll go 6.
Where are we getting them? Which 2 games do we win?
Probably Newcastle and Tottenham. When people don't expect it, like sometimes
this is my point. Sorry, that was my point. When people don't expect us to get a result, we normally actually go and get a result. So it's 4 games that no one's going to think about getting results, and maybe that's going to be the. I don't know. When the chips, the thing with West Ham is when the chips are down, when their backs properly against the wall, and no one's expecting anything. We always do something to surprise us, to raise the eyebrows. It's when we go. It's when we think we're going to do well that we don't do well. So that's Newcastle away, Chelsea at home, Spurs away, Nottingham Forest at home. Everyone thought that. I said, that at the start of the season, Nottingham Forest away was going to be a harder game than Man City at home, and I think it was actually. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. All right, Gatesy, I can't remember how many points did you reckon for the next 4?
Well, I personally think that if David Moyes doesn't get in the next 4 matches at least 13 points, he should go.
Well,
you get a bonus point for scoring more than 1 goal.
Yep. If he doesn't get 13 points out of the next 12 available, then he can fuck off.
What do you reckon will happen?
I hope that we get something at Newcastle, because that is a long ass drive from where I live. But we're not. We're probably going to go there, and I think best case scenario is that we somehow fluke a draw. But I think the balance of probability is we're going to get beat there. Chelsea, I maybe, because they're not really in great form themselves. London derby. Do you know what? I've got a funny feeling that's probably our best chance at getting 3 points that one.
Come on, Gatesy. Come on. You're almost there, mate. You're almost there. You're on my level. Come on, son.
Tottenham away? No.
Oh.
I'd love to see it, but I don't think we will.
The return of Danny Ings and Skamaka, Gatesy.
Yeah, but Moyes will play him at fullback.
Antonio up top.
Yeah, exactly. And Souček.
Moyes will play Skamaka on his own up top. Ings will come on around.
Souček
and then get injured after 5 minutes.
Souček will be sort of like, ambling around the centre circle as he always does. Getting in. So I don't see us getting anything there. And then Nottingham Forest, oh God. We have to win that. I mean, the thing is, we're in a situation where the games against the Tottenhams and the Chelseas and the Liverpools, they're essentially free hits. What we need to do is we need to win. We're involved essentially in a mini league at the bottom of the league, And we need to win those games against the Southamptons, the Bournemouths, the Leeds Uniteds, the Nottingham Forest. We need to win those games by hook or by crook. We need to get 3 points, because if we can't, we are going down. And that's, that's all there is to it. So we've got to win that game. Whether we will is another matter.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are probably in that bracket now of teams that Moyes doesn't win away against. That record he has. I think Newcastle at the moment have probably moved into that kind of territory. It's the kind of game he just will not win. I do think we'll lose. I think, don't they have a ridiculous record? Have they not conceded a goal since
October, I think it is.
October, Newcastle or something?
The only thing that gives me a little crumb of comfort is that they're not scoring a bucket load of goals at the minute. The goals seem to have dried up a little bit.
Is it Guimaraes not injured? Is he not?
No, he's playing. Is
he back playing again?
He played the other night. Yeah.
All right. Okay. My bad.
Funny thing is, Joel Linton, one of their resurgent players on the Eddie Howe, missed about 2 sitters during the game, and then scored one at the end. But it was like one of those where, it was an end-to-end game, and they've got Nick Pope in goal, who I think could easily be in the number one. But he's got him playing really good football, and I think he's bought well. He's bought very well for the money that he's got. And I think that he's using things to the best of it. In fact, he's got him play like Moyes did when he first turned up at West Ham, and he's playing, really getting the best out of them all. So, that's why I don't think we'll get anything from them, because Eddie Howe will out-tactic David Moyes, and we'll have him playing good football. And obviously Wilson will obviously come back from injury and will obviously score at least a goal against us, like he always does. And it was this magic celebration again, and so I'm writing that one off completely. And it's all about Chelsea and onwards after that.
Did your Cats have like a Mexican standoff there, Tom? Because I saw sort of like they were like head to head, and then the one on my left, it sort of like went, oh fuck that, and off went.
Yeah, so Shania is sitting here behind me.
That was the creepiest camera turn off.
Yeah, Shania is sitting here behind me, and Kenny came from out behind the curtain here wanting to play, and Shania looked at him like, not now, and he like slowly backed off, and it was like really
not now, he's filming.
Yeah, so I'm not in the mood, Kenny. And he was like, oh, sorry.
She turned around and said, Kenny, off you shall fuck. And he went, you're damn right I will.
Yeah. He knows that if she's not in the form, like, she will slap the shit out of him. So, but anyway, listen, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Look, fingers crossed we can go through in the cup. We need something, let's be honest. It would be a bit depressing if we go and get knocked out the FA Cup by a League One side.
I shall await your rant after the game if we do.
I think it's even more depressing if we get a replay.
Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah,
that'd be no. I'd rather get beat.
Yeah, but listen, look, really appreciate you all joining me. Very interesting chat. Always great to have differing opinions. And obviously, thanks to everyone in the live chat who joined us, and hopefully they'll all join me as usual again next Friday. But until then,
thanks for having me, lads.
Win Monday. Thanks, Luke. I know it's not easy for you.
No, she's finally snoring after two hours gone and whatever. But no, it's been good to be back. I'm sorry I haven't been helping you out, because you always message me on a Friday, and I always feel gutted and guilty by saying no, I can't. She's doing her nut and needs feed and all the rest of it. So good to get back on. I will try and make more appearances, providing I'm wanted still. So.
You're welcome. Well, hopefully you can join us again soon, mate. But give us a shout. Obviously, any week you want to come on, I'll shoot you the link. No worries. Listen, thanks again, everyone in the chat.
Cheers,
really
Tom.
appreciate you guys. You really help with the show, and I love seeing all your opinions as well. And I'll always put them up on screen. Good, bad, or indifferent. Like I say, hopefully Monday we can get a win, much needed boost before we go into the Newcastle game. But until next time, come on, you Irons.